Today I felt like representing one of my favourite bands, Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails, they've got an album called The Downward Spiral, which maybe you can see, maybe you can't. On it. I haven't really been listening to the album at all, but I think that this album covers a really, really important topic, and it's the topic of the downward spiral, the topic of losing yourself in the ego, just going lower and lower, you feel like, and sometimes you feel like there's no way out, right? Thank you very much for joining me here today. My name is Auldsy, or you can call me James, whatever you feel like, and this is my podcast, the Auldsy Cast. Today I'm basically going to be starting off by explaining where the fuck I've been for 3 weeks-ish, why I've been off the radar, essentially. And after I've talked about that, I want to talk a little bit about yin and yang, this topic that really shifted my perspective of being stuck in the downward spiral. And after I have done all my waffling, I'm then going to explain sort of how you can put this into effective use as a musician, or even any career path that you're going down. So let's do it, guys. So in the past couple of weeks, I unfortunately announced that I was leaving my first ever band, T-Call. Now, whenever I said in that post that that was the hardest thing I've ever done as a musician, I absolutely mean it. That was an absolutely brutal week, to say the least. I had a lot of feelings of guilt and just straight up negative emotion. Now, it absolutely was not towards any of the guys in the band, because trust me, those guys will always be my brothers for the whole of my life, you know? And I'm so thankful that we have left things in a really good place and we're all still really good friends. But it was more the fact that I felt like I had hurt those people and that I had let them guys down. Now, the day after I had left the band, I made a really silly decision by recording an Auldsy Cast. I think the meaning behind this Auldsy Cast was really, really good. I went in depth on an album that I really, really like. It's an album called Magma by Gojira, and I sort of broke down a lot of interesting things about that album, but you could just tell it wasn't authentic enough. You could tell I wasn't feeling great about myself. You could tell there was a lot of things annoying me. So that's the main reason that I have stayed away from doing this type of content in the past few weeks. Another reason I started up teaching again, which has been really, really fun. I had a nice couple of weeks off to spend with the family, spend with my friends as well. So a lot of my mental energy has gone into teaching and making sure I can give the best education to the lovely musicians that I teach. So today I pretty much want to talk about how I got myself out of that downward spiral of guilt and just not feeling great. Yeah, so I want to say in the past probably month or so, I have been absolutely obsessed with reading, okay? Absolutely love it to pieces. Started off reading a book called Effortless Mastery, which is absolutely incredible. Such a good book. It's really good because it's aimed towards musicians like me, who has struggled a lot with mental health and struggled to sort of let go, let loose, and do the thing without overthinking, you know. But I've actually been interested in a couple of different niches reading. One I want to talk about today is to do with fighting, which is quite interesting because if you've seen me in real life, I'm like a fucking beanpole, you know. I am literally stick and bone, like a stick man. I could not hurt a fly if I even wanted to. But I think the mentality that fighters have is one of the strongest, one of the most absolutely impressive things. If you take, for example, the UFC, the absolute sheer pressure those people put themselves under is absolutely insane. It is to the level of insanity. So I wanted to sort of get an idea of sort of where that began, and it seems like a lot of it sort of leads back to this person. And the book I've been reading is called Fighting Spirit, and it is a biography by the one and only Bruce Lee. Now, I haven't finished this book. I'm on page like 100, so I'm only about a third through of the book, but I think I think that I have read a lot about his childhood and sort of how the whole obsession started. First really interesting thing that I learned about Bruce Lee was he didn't really have a particularly bright upbringing, so he didn't. Well, one thing that I did learn, which I thought was absolutely insane, he started acting whenever he was 6 years old. Like, what? Bonkers. But apart from the acting side, it didn't really seem like he had much positivity in his life. Yes, he was fighting, but he was fighting in gangs. He was getting into trouble, getting beat up, getting arrested by police, you know. This got so bad to the point where he actually had to leave. I'm pretty sure it was Hong Kong he lived in. Somewhere in China, I'm pretty sure. But he had to leave and move to America to avoid going to jail. But despite all the negativity he had, it seemed like he always wanted to become the best gung fu artist that he could be. I want to talk about one time where he lost a fight in a gang. So he did. It seems like Bruce Lee was quite a hothead, he was quite an angry person. But the fact that he got the shit beat out of him, um, so you can imagine he's not too happy about himself. So he basically goes to a river, so he does, probably a local river, I don't really know, and he takes all of his anger out. He beats the living daylights out of water. One thing that he noticed was the fact that whenever he was punching this water, the water was moving. The water was effectively dodging him. So as soon as he's punching this, the water was reacting to his energy. So it was parting, essentially, and effectively defending itself. And further into the book, he talks about what this sort of was. It was the idea of yin and yang. To what I understand from what my little fucking brain can handle, essentially, yin and yang is split into two sections. The first section is yin, and you'll never guess what the next section is. Yang. So yin is essentially all of the mental energy, and today we're going to refer to the yin as the awareness, and on the other side, the yang, it refers to all the physical energy, so the doing. And the thing that I found really, really interesting is that without one, the other cannot exist. So for example, talking about the thing that I was talking about at the start of today's episode, without awareness, it is very easy to get into a slump, right? It is very easy to see negativity if you're not aware of the positive. And essentially nothing positive can come to you if you're not aware of it, or you're not aware of yourself. So for me at least, I had to be aware of my ego, all of the really bad things I was thinking about myself, all of the self-sabotaging I was doing. And after I became aware of that, it just became so much easier for me. But yeah, without the mental force, without the yin, it is extremely easy to get stuck in the downward spiral. That's what I've noticed in the past couple of weeks. And it's very, very easy to get caught in that negative vibration. So it is. So, for example, I left a band, which sort of made my ego go kind of crazy. My awareness was gone, and I was stuck in the outer. That therefore caused even more negative things to happen to me. So that's the first thing that I really found very useful in the past couple of weeks. The second thing is the fact that we are only 1 second long, or precisely 1 nanosecond long, if we really think about it. So from the belief I had about the yin and yang thing, I realized that nothing positive can happen without awareness of the moment. So whenever I wasn't reading, I like to watch a lot of self-help YouTube videos. Which, I don't know, might be a little bit cringe, might not, I don't really know. But it's what I like to do. One person I think is a lot smarter in this whole area is a person called Fourth Dimensional Farah, I think her name is, or 4D Farah. She was the first person who sort of opened my eyes to this fact that we are only 1 moment long. If you think about it, we only exist in one exact moment of consciousness. Everything past this moment, everything that we have ever experienced in our past is gone. It's in the ether, right? We can't control the past, but with your awareness, you can control your future. Now, I'm not saying live in the future, but if you live in your conscious self, your conscious moment, if you think your positive things, if you're aware that you're hurting yourself, essentially, you can essentially get to where you want to get in your life. From anyone who has experienced depression or anxiety and is similar to me, you realize whenever you're in a bad place, things always seem to get worse, don't they? But the only reason that is because your perception is fitted on the negative. Therefore, you are manifesting your negative future. That's how important your awareness is and your shift in focus can be. And that's what I have realized the hard way in my life so far. Or how can this benefit you as a musician? Everything I've talked about today. Well, next week, I think I'm going to cover a meditation, which I think will really help me expand on this a wee bit better. But what I want you to think, or what I want you to know and believe this is true, you can overdo something if it's out of fear. That is the only way. If you don't have your yin, essentially, if you don't have that mental awareness and you're stuck, that's whenever you're going to practice negatively, and you're going to force yourself to do something you don't really want to do because you're not quite there yet, But if you have a good balance, the perfect balance between loving yourself, taking care of yourself. Now, everyone takes care of themselves in their own way. For example, while people might like gaming, other people will like reading and watching YouTube videos about helping themselves. So only you know what is good for you and what is bad for you. But it's about having that and combining that with your practice. And not only will that help you practice effectively and become the musician or whatever you want to do in your life, it'll also help you live happily and healthily. So essentially, the downward spiral is whenever you aren't aware. Okay, it's whenever you're thinking in the past, for example. It's whenever your ego is dragging you down, especially if you're into sort of meditating and looking after yourself. The ego is always going to look for something to absolutely grab onto you to fucking pull you down with it. And the really hard thing is not giving into that. It's really, really tricky. But what I want you to know from me is that you are absolutely perfect the way you are. No matter who you are, no matter what you have done, no matter if you feel guilty about something in your past, I promise you, you are absolutely perfect the way you are. Even if you don't want to take any of this stuff in and you don't want to do any meditation, or maybe you don't give a fuck about the the whole yin and yang thing I've been talking about. And if you don't do that, that is completely okay. And I'm not here to sort of force feed you shit. Because I don't think that'll help anybody. But try your best just to be aware. Aware whenever you don't feel great about yourself. Aware whenever the ego is taking over. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this episode. I think it was the right thing for me to take a few weeks off because I needed it. It's amazing to be back though. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Sweet.